You're with Newsmakers. This is a special debate on Canterbury Water, and we are with three members of the Canterbury Water Management Strategy Steering Group, Peter Townsend, Eugenie Sage and Mayor Bede OMalley. Now, the Gamma Foundation, a private charitable trust focused on water issues, has questioned the integrity of this strategy and the consultation process. They claim it's biased, and they claim that the public are being steered towards a predetermined position or option. Is there any truth to this, Bede?
No, we refute those allegations, and let's make it clear right from the outset, the findings of the survey, and it was a survey from the Gamma Foundation, is not inconsistent with what we're trying to promote. Right through the outset, it's the Mayoral Forum that's advocated the development of the strategy, and throughout the Canterbury region, that's probably the only democratically elected body that represents the region as a whole. So we believe we have the mandate to show that leadership on behalf of the community, and you know, we've got to put a stake in the ground. We just can't keep on talking about water forever and ever.
Sure. Can I just walk through some of the concerns they've raised along with other groups and give you the right to respond? First of all, Gamma say that the fundamental problem with the strategy is that it's been controlled from the start by rural interests who have put irrigation first and public water supplies last. True or false?
I'll let the urban representatives answer that one.
Well, I've got a mixed urban-rural constituency, but I think certainly in the first three stages of the strategy, there was an emphasis on storage. But then the steering committee was significantly widened in terms of its membership composition, and there was a recognition that issues like land use and the impacts on water quality and some of the environmental values needed more attention in this, the fourth stage. And the public consultation has been very wide. There have been a lot of stakeholder meetings all around the region with a wide range of people attending those.
Gamma claims that it's not possible to increase irrigation without damaging water resources and the environment. True or false?
Well, I don't think that the science that we've seen so far holds that up at all. We're only using a very, very small part of the available water. There's a lot of water in Canterbury. It's just not in the right place at the right time. And what we have to do as part of the strategy is optimise the use of water without compromising the environmental values and the environmental status of our lands and improving them wherever we can. But there's plenty of water out there, and I think to say that that's a constraining factor is just not true.
It's also fair to say, Mike, that the mistakes have been made in the past. In putting the stake in the ground about environmental sustainability and moving forward, we're saying if we're going to further develop, then these are the core fundamentals we need to adhere to and work to repair the damage that has taken place in the past. And that includes inefficiency of the water that's allocated at the moment.
In terms of the mistakes in the past and the downstream environmental effects and degradation and compromise to water quality and so forth, Gamma seem to think that there is still a lot of trouble to come that's in the pipeline, that's already been done in recent years, that is yet to fully manifest itself. I mean, that does sound like scaremongering. Is there some truth to it, though?
Well, I think there's been some nitrate-nitrogen modelling of what's happening with the aquifers, and that's shown that if we put in place proper land use management practices, we can significantly reduce the nitrate contamination of groundwater by about 20% and protect the quality of those deep aquifers. And so, yes, some of the practices in the 70s and 80s and currently have led to nitrate in groundwater, but we can do something about that. And that's what the strategy is about, identifying where we need to do that and what sort of measures we need.
Sure. And I think there's also a tension here, Mike, between getting something done and waiting for all the science, and those two things are running in parallel, and it's important that we do get a strategy that works through the best use of water before it's all too late.
Sure. And we're already seeing that mind shift within Canterbury. For example, what's happened in the Waimakariri irrigation scheme, the new one there, that is moving along the sustainability principles that we're advocating here. So some of that change and emphasis about farming practice is already taken, and the discipline that goes with it is already starting to happen. So there is a recognition that we have to get better.
Sure. I know you referred to the Lincoln University research that Gamma was involved in last year. There was one finding from that survey which struck me as a pretty big call, and I'm just keen to get your thoughts on it. One of the results was 80% of respondents wanted no further water allocated for irrigation until a guarantee can be given, that water quality and quantity will not fall below acceptable standards. Is that possible?
You're virtually talking a moratorium, and the regulatory authorities in Canterbury have said no, that's not possible and not prepared to go along that way. But we are saying that before further allocation, and really there's not too much more allocation available in the current model, that before further allocation is made available, we have to put best practice in place before you can progress infrastructure development. So that is the key fundamental. So we don't disagree with that. We're saying we agree with that, and we are moving forward in principle.
Certainly, Environment Canterbury's position on the National Policy Statement on water has been that in at-risk catchments, some of the over-allocated aquifers, areas where water quality has been degraded, there is a need there, perhaps, for a bit of a pause so that the planning regime can catch up.
What's happened with those? What were they? Were they red zones? Red zones. Yeah, sort of in the Rakaya area, weren't they?
There's been a lot of discussion and consultation with consent holders in the Rakaya Selwyn with a view to reviewing the consents to get an annual cap on takes, and that's coming to some sort of conclusion now. So that's been a lot of dialogue.
Sure.
And all of this, Mike, just reinforces the need to have a comprehensive regional-wide strategy.
Yeah. Just one last concern to raise with you, and this, of course, is Professor Gendels from Massey University, who has taken issue with the nature of your consultation. He does not believe it provides a basis for informed consultation. His chief concern seems to be its lack of readability, the booklet, and also he claims that there is a bias, there is a skew in favour of a particular option. Can I just ask you, if you weren't on the steering group, if you didn't give a stuff really about water and the economic benefits and the environmental concerns, would you respond to this consultation?
The problem we've got here is that we're dealing with an extraordinarily complex issue that we're trying to simplify down as much as possible. But you can't avoid the complexity of the subject that we're dealing with. It is enormously complex, not only across the region, but within the region. There are a whole lot of different things that will take place catchment by catchment. So I think we've done a reasonable job in getting a relatively clear expression of the different options that might be available. Not perfect, but not a bad distillation out of a very complex issue.
Just very quickly, for the average Joe Blow, do you think it is accessible, the information?
I do, and I've read it a number of times just to see where the complexity might come about. OK, I've got a heads up for a start, but I think it is, and I've had that comment passed on to me. I don't think it's made out to be as complex as perhaps the professor is making it out to be.
It could have been a lot more complex, I'm sure.
Well, that's where our website is. I mean, and we direct the constituents to the website continually, because that's where it does get complex.
For sure, yes. All right, we'll take a break. Plenty more to come with our guests. Do stay with us.